and welcome back to another thrilling episode of Off the Dome. I'm your humble interviewer, Jordan Brown. With me for the very first time is our dazzling designer. Say hi, dazzling designer.
Hi.
Chloe, thank you so much. This is so exciting. Such a huge fan of your work across the board. So many exciting things to ask you about, but right out of the gate, when are we getting My Therapist Thinks I'm Hilarious restock? I got Christmas gifts that I could have given out.
Oh, you're so sweet. Yeah, I had to shut down the store a few months ago because Game Changer was just taking over my life. And it was the kind of thing where I was like, oh no, not another order. And that's when you know that you should probably pause the business for a minute.
Yeah, that's super fair. It is. Well, there we go. We can blame Sam for it.
Like many things, it is Sam's fault.
Yeah, I know you. Obviously, you just filmed a season of Game Changer. I got to talk to Brennan last week. I don't know. I talked to Brennan recently, and all I asked him was, "How was it?" And he went fully dead in the eyes and said, "Strap in." I'm looking forward to whatever nonsense is coming. I'm assuming you get to play. Obviously, you play such a huge role in terms of designing the nonsense that we get to see, because there's so much of it that is a visual element. Just like broadly, like how? I think that's the question.
It's a good one. Yeah, this season, I just can't wait. And we have to wait so long, and I just can't wait, and I'm not allowed to talk about it. But I cried tears of joy twice this season. That's never happened before. But there was once, I was just sitting there on a balcony. That's the only clue I'll give you. And I was watching what was going on, and I was crying. And it was like everything I ever wanted in my life coming together, all my skills and passions. And oh my God, what a validating experience. And we made the biggest, hardest set piece I've ever made. And I can't wait for you to see it and be really impressed by it.
I'm going to be very impressed by it. I absolutely can't wait, because you've made some really impressive ones. I think my personal favorite is A Game Most Changed, because like the ability to make things that aren't marble look like marble so convincingly is it's amazing. Like it's truly magic.
Thank you. That's sweet. We use feathers to do that.
That's wild.
That's the pro tip. You drag the feather across and it makes that irregular marble pattern. Isn't that cool?
That's very cool. Yeah, you've had some really amazing stuff that you've built. I think the thing people most want me to ask you about is Beat the Buzzer, because it was so much. How does an episode like that, I mean, like just like concept to production to filming, what is that? I mean, what is that like?
When we're in like brainstorming sessions and we're in the writer's room and it's like 6 months to shooting, I try really hard not to concern myself with what it's going to take to do something, and to just like be present. I don't want them to kick me out and be like, you're too realistic. So I'm always just there like, oh yeah, that's a really great idea, and not sharing all of the concerns about the logistics of it. That one was one of those where I was like, oh my God, functioning buzzers. I think we had like 30 of them. And it was a huge software task. We outsourced the software, so I won't take credit for that. And then Ash and Nico are our props team, which everyone knows them from on camera, and behind the scenes, they are a full running props team.
And so the cutest couple on TikTok or Instagram, wherever it is that they want to post.
I know. I'm so lucky. I really, I try to hire cute people.
Mm-hmm.
It's worked in my favor. So that one, we had Ash in like shrouded in like duvetine at the computer, like frantically having to be in the center of everything, making sure that things were working. And it was the kind of thing where you had to go activate them. That was the hardest part, is that they had to be deactivated, and then you activate it with like, I think Izzy Rowland's face or something like that. And then we had to activate them remotely, and then they get pressed, and then we have to do what the buzzer does. So, I mean, a logistical nightmare. I think everybody had a great time. I think it was really fun. Was it fun for the viewers? It was fun for you?
Yeah, it was super fun. Like just an absolute delight of an episode. Everyone loved it, 100%.
I'm forgetting that that was the episode where we built a mirror maze for
Mhm.
that episode. Do you know
Yeah,
how long it appears in the episode?
like 30 seconds, maybe.
No,
Like,
less. I think
yeah,
it's like so I built the thing. I mean, I oversaw building it and I designed it. And when I walked in, I hit my face on the mirror like immediately. I was holding a metal clipboard and I immediately gashed the very first wall you walk into. And then Becca ran through it, having never seen it, in like 5 seconds.
yeah.
We did not think there was any way she was going to do that. That was crazy to watch.
Yeah,
That
that was my favorite part of that is it. I mean, for a good reason, made it fully into the trailer of like,
mm-hmm.
look at what we did this season, and then
Yeah.
it was just like blink and you miss it, gone,
Yep.
because Becca solved it as fast as possible.
I don't know how she did that, honestly. It was
It's
incredible.
yeah,
Yeah, the pictures that came out of that of Sam,
hmm
interacting with himself, those were really great. So ultimately worth it. Um, that's how it is when you are working in what I guess we technically call reality TV. Unscripted is you kind of just dedicate your time and energy and money to what you think is going to be cool and then you hope it works out. And often it's barely seen or not seen at all.
yeah,
But
and
that's
sometimes
what we
yeah.
do.
That's the like, it has to be such a bummer of sometimes you're like, oh, no one noticed because it was so flawless. It didn't take up any space, like it just like seamlessly transitioned the thing that we needed. um,
Yep.
uh, I guess I mean we probably should take a step back. You are I don't know what your exact title is, the designer for Game Changer, Make Some Noise. I mean, actually, to at least some extent.
Um, I rebuilt the actually set from the first iteration of the design, but I can't call myself the designer of that one. Although when I was first working at College Humor, I made props for the walls for that.
Yeah, no,
That was one of my
you made a two-eyed
entryways.
Blinky. Oh, it's so
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
I love.
So let's see. I've got Make Some Noise, Game Changer, Thousandaires, Monet's Slumber Party, and Now Nobody Asked. You can kind of tell it's mine if it's extremely bright and overwhelming to look at. That's how you know
Which
I did it.
it's our favorite. It's a favorite genre of a set piece. Obviously you've been there for a while now. How do you come to? I mean, obviously as like a designer, I'm sure they're hiring designers, but like, what draws you into improvised comedy? I know it's one of two things that have like helped your mental health. So
Yeah, I actually started taking classes at UCB like 6 months ago, which my therapist forced me to sign up for Improv 101 because I told her it was the worst, scariest thing I could possibly imagine. And now I'm in 301 and I love it and it's great. It's weird working with the best in the business and then going into classes. It's a really strange feeling because you'll never beat Brennan.
right,
You'll never beat Brennan. Stop
yeah,
trying to beat Brennan,
yeah.
you know? Um, but the way I actually started at College Humor was as a costume designer. So I would do the costumes that were not just wardrobe costumes, Ultra Megatron, Team Go, Giant Sexy Hot Potato. But at the same time, that wasn't really what I did. I was doing production design and art direction for other clients. So after Ultra Megatron Team Go, where I felt like I had kind of proved myself, I was like, I'm a production designer. I'd love to just do a show for you guys. And they were like, okay, well, we have this thing that we're thinking about doing. It's Sam's project. Would you like to do it? There's no money and there's no creative yet. And I was like, yeah, that's what I asked for. Let's do it. And then I was in a room with Sam Reich, who I don't think I fully knew who he was at the time. And so we were just friends making a thing with no money. And that was season one. And if you look at season one, please don't watch season one. We were in an office building with 8-foot ceilings with like very limited money, very limited time. And we just put up this thing that was kind of the tiniest version of the weird fantasy we had in our heads for a funky 70s game show. And it was kind of a proof of concept, and it did really well. And then season 2, we got to build a real set. And then last season, it is 3.5 times the size of the set of previous seasons. So now we've just
Wow.
totally blown it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's how I got the job, basically by asking for it.
Hey, can't hurt.
That's what you have to do.
Yeah. Is that does that mean there isn't a Dropout vault? Are you rebuilding everything from scratch every season?
We save our walls. We
Okay.
reuse our walls.
Even after
And
Caldwell Tanner draws a giant dick on it.
yep. Okay, I have a good one for you from this season. So the game changer sign, they drew dicks all over it. I cleaned them off myself with paint thinner. This was like we had, several hours to fix the set before it had to be a clean set the next day. I think that was like our first day of shooting that we shot that. It was not the last day of shooting. I cleaned them off with paint thinner. I painted over it white. Great. It's back on the wall. We shoot the rest of the season. We do save our large set pieces, so that was saved in storage. And then this season, we put it back up. And Kevin Stiller, our DP, called me over. And I'm not camera savvy, so I can't tell you what he was doing, but changing the settings to show, exposure, whatever. And you can see the dicks under the paint when the settings are showing like exposure settings. So those are still there and will be forever.
Amazing.
And it's part of the lore.
That's so good. Speaking of Kevin, do you think Brooks stole your design for his shoes, or?
Yes! I mean, okay, so I didn't invent the loop-de-loop. That's a thing from the 70s. I didn't invent, that tight rainbow shape, arc shape, although it is very popular right now. But the color scheme with the blue, come on. That's too on the nose, I think.
I have 2 pairs of them.
You do?
Yeah, because I got a pair and then I wore them all the time because they're Brooks, so they're very comfortable.
Yeah.
And then periodically I go to conventions to do things. I've done a couple of actually lives with Iffy, and so I have a show pair that
Nice.
I only wear at conventions.
Nice.
So,
That's great.
yeah, it was super fun. I got to talk to him probably 8 months ago now at this point, but like I just had the shoes sitting next to me, and I was like, "Hey, I want to thank you," and like held them up. And he's like, "I can't wait to tell you this story," and he got to tell like the whole story of how he got them, which is very fun. But yeah, it is wild to see because. As someone who's chronically online and in like dropout spaces, oh boy, if someone finds a loop-de-loop in the world, they're sharing it as fast as possible to like, it's either like they have immunity or like some other pun of like a game changer related thing. But yeah, like the Odwalla bottle recently that was like very, very on brand.
Target Band-Aids.
Yeah, Target Band-Aids.
Mm-hmm.
They're all over. Well, how's it feel knowing that you are a cultural icon?
I'll take it. Yeah. It's all thanks to me, the resurgence. I do think it's really fun, anytime I know Sam suffers this more than any of us, but we also suffer it too. Anytime we're going to hang out or go do something that isn't shooting with anyone from the cast, everyone's on guard. Is this party actually going to turn out to be a game changer episode? And I feel the same way. I mean, I'm like mortified at the idea that one day they're going to get me. But I love the idea that our lives are just long game changer episodes, and we need to be collecting these loop-de-loops from Target and have our Odwalla bottles and our shoes. And I have found like a crazy Starbucks mug that had loop-des and arches. And the Target Band-Aids, and like hoarding them in our house in case this whole thing is just a figment of Sam Reish's imagination.
Ooh, and it certainly could be. Yeah, I loved in the I think it was the most recent Make Some Noise, where as Vic is coming out, their prompt was that you think this might secretly be a game changer episode, because I have talked to Vic and they genuinely have that fear as well, of like every time they see Sam, they're like, but is like they thought Very Important People was going to be a secret game changer episode.
That's awesome.
So yeah, absolutely delightful. I just realized I literally have next to me the Make Some Noise socks just
That's
sitting
so
on my
cute.
desk. Because my wife gets mad at me when I buy things near Christmas for myself. So I've left them on my desk so that she doesn't know that I bought myself socks right before Christmas.
That's so funny. We have the same problem.
Yeah. But yeah, it's so many amazing things. Like I said, you've built so many amazing things. We talked about Beat the Buzzer, but also, I mean, speaking of loop-de-loops, like how the the Survivor episodes, plural. I mean, what is it like building those? Trying to figure out, like, all right, how am I going to make a loop-de-loop that is a mop or whatever it is, right? Like the things that like I need people to be able to rip up. It's very I guess similar problem to Beat the Buzzer, but like even more hidden. How was that episode for you?
So fun. I mean, that's what's fun is like some dumb idea that has then exploded into a phenomenon for us, creatively. Um, so thinking about what we could turn into immunity idols, I guess I think we call them. We went around the stage and took photos of things and then put them all into a drive and then we all brainstormed on them. So, it's got to be something that's going to no one's going to clock as out of the ordinary. That mop is always there. So anytime you're there to shoot I'm Actually or whatever show you're shooting, that mop is there. And so that's how we figured out, which things were going to be totally unnoticeable. And then it's up to Ash and Nico to transform them. Um, the hair I really liked. I don't know if that made it into the episode. Did the wig make it?
Oh, I don't
It's
think
hard for
so.
me to remember.
That doesn't ring a bell.
So there were a few that didn't make it into the episode. One, and I mean, I like to think it's because we just did such a good job hiding them. In the building where we shoot, there are like, I don't know, drainage pipes, whatever, that are kind of exposed on the wall in that like loft style. So we had built a loop-de-loop pipe and hooked it up to the drainage pipe in the studio. And no one got that one. That was right there for them. I think the best one though was the giant one on the wall.
Yeah.
We had to figure out how to hang that inconspicuously, and then watching them discover it is so fun.
Yeah, that's got to be fun in episodes like that and Beat the Buzzer, where you are watching like your work is not meant to be seamless at that
Right.
point. Your work is meant to be found. It's got to be fun to be able to sit there and be like, they found it. They found the mop. They found.
It's so fun.
Yeah, and that obviously like increased so much between that first Survivor themes into Battle Royale. I think I'm naming them correctly.
Mhm.
Whatever, but like they got such a huge jump in terms of scope of what that was. And then obviously this past season we had Ratfish, the biggest
Mhm.
scope yet, and now you have promised that even more is coming.
We have to keep outdoing ourselves.
I know, like that. At what point are you afraid? Are you afraid at some point you're like, oh no, we've done it. We've done too much.
Yeah, I mean, I think every season we feel that way, and we just sort of trust that we're gonna go relax for a few months and come back and figure something out, and we do. I think Escape Room was that for me, where I was like, all right, we're not going to top this. That was insane. And on the back end, logistically, building a secret room and all of the ciphers and puzzles, which is, I love the game design of puzzles, especially, word games and uh, the where we had what would you call that? Would you call it a cipher? Where we had the D&D posters on the wall and then we
Yeah,
had to put
I think
the
that's the right
stencil
word. Yeah,
over.
yeah, yeah.
I loved that. I loved doing that. I want to do that more and more. I want to do a whole season of escape rooms. But once we finished that episode, we were sort of like, okay, let's take a nap. Like, something else will come to us. And it does. And oh God, I can't wait for you to see what we did this season, because we have to just keep escalating. And especially since people are already on guard for us getting them, we have to triple protect ourselves from that. Um,
Yeah,
I
like I
don't
mean,
know, like
you're building multiple layers of bingo sheets.
it's really fun.
Um, uh, yeah, that was delightful. I also taking the stamp of Grant and removing the glasses and no one noticing that it wasn't Brennan. Truly
Brennan
one of my
himself did
favorite
not
things.
notice.
I know, so funny.
That's
Um,
yeah.
yeah, I mean, obviously for like close-ups, I'm sure for that episode it was like recut in the Brennan card, but
Yeah.
like, I mean, that one had to be stressful. Of like, we need a new thing now, because Grant's not coming. We have 2 hours notice, I think. Like,
Yeah, so this is a talk we have every season or just privately in the art team. It's like it's not stressful if you know it's going to happen. Um so we can't wake up and Grant's got COVID and now we have to figure out some sort of solution and be like, "Oh my god, why is this happening? This is crazy." Like, no, that's the job. That's what happens every single time. There's always some crazy thing that goes wrong or a last minute idea that somebody who was maybe less invested than me would probably just go like, "I'm not doing that, you didn't give me enough notice." But because I care about the show so much and I'm so involved, I'm always like, "Yeah, that's a better idea. We're going to have to totally redo all of this in the next 6 hours and get it done, you know." um so was it stressful? Yeah, of course. But we're always ready for that, knowing that that could happen at any moment and trying to prepare ourselves for that. That one was like, because those are custom printed by our printer, Zany Graphics, shout out, absolutely saving our butts all the time. But I think it was a weekend. So we had to just print it at FedEx and spray adhere it on. You'd never know.
yeah, yeah.
That's the job. That's the beauty. That's what's exciting. I think we all have ADHD and we all get really bored. I don't want to go decorate someone's room with, you know, a fiddle leaf fig tree and white curtains and like a beige duvet. I want to wake up terrified, not knowing what's going to happen today and have to figure out a solution last minute. It's
Oh,
awesome.
that's so much fun. I love that so much.
Sorry, am
Yeah,
I too long winded? I don't know what I'm
no,
doing.
I told you I just talked to Brennan. In what universe do you think you're talking more than him?
Oh, man.
Um, Literally, Brennan out the gate before I asked a question was like, "This might be a tangent right off the bat." I was like, "Yep, it is." Do you get to pull that card when you're in your 301 class and be like, "When I was talking to Brennan Lee Mulligan today."
Absolutely. I mean, sometimes it's relevant. Like I have something I need to say that Brennan told me.
Yeah.
My 301 teacher is Oscar,
Mm-hmm.
Oscar Montoya, who is, I mean, an angel on this earth. Um, and so he knows me from work, I guess you call it. It doesn't feel like work. But yeah, in 101, I rolled up and like, again, I was just there to do like OCD immersion therapy, failure, rejection therapy. Did not think I was going to like it. Didn't like it for a few weeks. And I was sitting outside the building was locked. And I looked around at all of the other people who were waiting to go into class with me. And I was like, oh my God, 100% of these people are Dropout fans. Like, it hadn't occurred to me. And then I had to out myself eventually as we got closer, you know, and developed relationships. Yeah, and
Hey,
half of them
real
were
Dropout
like,
fans would have known who you were. So
hey, yeah. A couple of them in 201, they recognized me. I got the signature hair. That's a good point.
Mhm.
So, but no, there's like a whole resurgence among young people who want to do improv comedy because of us, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah, because of us.
because of
I'll say
you.
it.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's fair. I wish like it's just out of reach. I have the same copy of the Lord of the Rings that Oscar won. Um,
It's
uh,
awesome.
it was like such a it's a thing like as a very big Lord of the Rings nerd fan. This is the all things that glitter are not gold poem that Frodo wrote about, or Bilbo wrote about Aragorn. It's just that's what that is. That's Gandalf right there. Anyway, anytime I go to like a half price books or whatever, I go to the fantasy section and look for just weird old copies. And I found that copy once, and I was like, "Oh, this is great! I'm buying that." And so
That's awesome.
when it popped up on the screen, I was like, "I own that!" And I
That's
got
so
it for
cool.
way cheaper than Sam did. I will say, buy your books secondhand, folks.
That was us. We bought that. You should just tell people that it's the one from the episode.
Yeah. Well,
Just
Oscar.
memorabilia.
Yeah, just memorabilia. I did try to bribe Brennan to do an interview with me, and I offered him that book, but he didn't take me up on it. So, and then he did it later for nothing. What a sucker!
Wow.
Yeah. One of the things that I love about Game Changer, this is generally how my interviews go. In case you're curious,
This is my very first interview ever, so this is great.
That's not technically true, because you do behind the scenes, and that is actually the transition I was going to make.
Sure.
I mean, it's not like interview, but like you talk a lot about like the things that you have made, and it's one of the things that I love about Dropout in general, but like about Game Changer, is there is such a huge emphasis on what the crew has done and the individuals of the crew that are doing those things, and not just like give it up for our crew. It's like, Dimension 20, Brendan has handed a list of people, and he's like, I'm going to read everyone that worked on this prop, and like with those Game Changer episodes, like I love that. I don't love a bi-weekly release schedule because I want it all and I want it now.
Yeah.
But like, I love that in between we do get those behind the scenes, because I've made like a whole deal out of behind the scenes stuff. But what's it like at Dropout that is such a huge focus, and like that is such a thing that is just not celebrated elsewhere?
Yeah, I mean, there is no better place to work as an artist for real. And I think as kindness becomes more trendy, yeah, I said it. I think other companies try to do that too, you know? It's a big virtue signaling thing. And at Dropout, it's so genuine and the feeling is so real. I mean, my team and I are just applauded by everyone every episode. And even our cast is like coming backstage to tell us how incredible it is what we did. You don't get that kind of recognition elsewhere. And I don't know what we did to deserve it, because I mean, I just feel so lucky every time. And I have other clients who aren't Dropout, unfortunately. And this doesn't happen there. I think a lot of it too is our fans are nerdy artists people themselves half the time who are interested. So it's like a beautiful symbiotic relationship that everybody wants to know about how we did what we did. We want to share. We feel so excited and celebrated. And Dropout, they pay into that. They engage with it and they're proud of us too. Nobody really is looking, like Sam's not looking at what we've made and thinking, well, I could have done that. Like, no one ever says that. I think it's partially also because, especially on Game Changer, the art is so much a part of the game mechanic and the creative that without it, the game can't happen. Did I answer your question?
Doesn't matter. It was great. It was perfect. It was perfect. Yes.
Honestly, everyone will, like, people will say to me, especially improv people and fans and whomever, like, do you know how lucky you are? I do. I really do. Trust me. I am so grateful every day that I get to go work at Dropout, especially on Game Changer, where it's literally like some divine being created a role for me in this world for me to do what I love and do it well and be supported and then hire only amazing people. Man, it's really, we all really actually feel this way. It's not a cult.
But if it was a cult, there is profit sharing, and that's pretty great as well. It's year 2 in a row of profit sharing from Dropout, which is amazing.
Really life-changing,
Yeah, I have heard from multiple people. I talked to Kevin Stiller about it again a million years ago, whatever. I don't know when I talked to him. Here's the thing. You are the 59th individual employee from Dropout that I have talked to. I have started keeping track on the top of my notebook. And that doesn't include like people that I've talked to more than once.
Yeah.
So like, anyway, I talked to him about it. You know, he talked about how, you know, like that it was like a non-insignificant amount of money. That, you
Yeah.
know, it was enough for someone, especially if you were in a creative field. It might be the thing that like you needed a new big piece of equipment or a new, you know, whatever, like that would really like launch your career forward, that it would be enough to basically cover that. And like he had talked about it, that like in totality, you know, it would have been like we could have bought new cameras, which we need. Like, and that like it's such a difference to be like, well, we rather than do that, which still would be beneficial for the company, let alone just like Sam taking a bonus, but like the decision to instead send it out to literally everyone, like people that did advertising for Drop. Like if you did a paid
Mm-hmm.
sponsorship on TikTok, which I have not done, come on, Sam, like you still got the email of like, hey, we're doing profit sharing this year. I think even for people that auditioned, because you get paid to
Really?
audition. Yeah, I know they pay to audition, and I think last year that those people still got, you know, like profit sharing. I'm assuming percentages and things go into play,
Yeah.
because obviously you deserve more money than someone who worked for 3 hours one day, because you worked a lot more over the course of the
Hey,
year.
thanks.
But obviously, like it's such a huge difference. And if it was a cult, would you join? I guess, is that the question? I don't know.
100%.
Great.
Yeah.
Um,
No, it is huge. Yeah, it came a little later this year, and we were all like, should we ask someone? Do you think it's gonna happen again? Because last year it was Thanksgiving, so and this year it was in December, and I didn't realize I was really banking on it. I was
mhm.
like so sure it was coming until it didn't come on Thanksgiving, and then I was like, oh shoot, I didn't realize that I just was thinking that was going to happen again. And then when it did come, it was even more than it was last year. And I don't know how or why Sam does that, except that he's a really nice person.
Wait,
Because no one else is doing that.
right.
It doesn't make any capitalistic sense.
Yeah.
Uh so the gratitude we feel there again is just like out of this world. I think someone on Reddit called him the ideal rich person, and I think he earns that title every year.
Yeah. Look, he's a safe CEO. That's what everyone on the internet is saying these days. Yeah,
It's very funny.
yes. It's
Dark.
um, yeah, it's really interesting, because, you know, like one of the things that I thought about was, I mean, for Sam, I mean, it makes business sense in terms of like he has some of the most talented people, yourself included, but also like on camera people. You know, like Brennan Lee Mulligan, if he was a like capitalist, could go anywhere and make any amount of money to run a D&D show, right? So like
Yeah.
treating people with kindness feels like a really smart move to get people to stay at your company,
They
and
really
also is
value
a good thing to
loyalty.
do. Yeah.
Yeah. They value loyalty for sure. I've definitely benefited from it. You know, I said some self-deprecating things about season 1, but I mean them. I'm like, you know, any other company might have gone, "Oh, okay, she didn't really hit the mark season 1. Let's try somebody more talented, newer, you know, I don't know, for season 2." And they stuck with me, I think out of loyalty mostly, um, and gave me more and more shows. And I will love them forever for it. You know, it goes both ways. And I think like we have relationships as much as is possible, you know. It's like that creepy thing about like workplaces being families. They're not my family, I guess. But I love them genuinely. And if something happened next year and I had to, you know, there was a huge financial crash or something crazy, caused by who knows what.
Yeah.
And I had to go and do Game Changer for a third of my rate. No question I'd be doing it. There's no question. And that's what you buy yourself when you're so dedicated to your staff.
Yeah. That's really cool. Yeah, I just it's good to hear. I mean, I've heard it a bunch because it seems to be the thing that Dropout employees generally feel. I've never talked to anyone who was like, "Yeah, it sucks." But I will
Well, I
say,
mean, I think like most of us are freelancers,
yeah,
so it's not even just that. Oh yeah, we're happy to be here. Corporate culture, it's nice or whatever. Every couple of months, I have to work for a different client, so I know what it could be like, and I have not forgotten. And you can't forget when you're a
yeah.
freelancer how bad it can be. So yeah, it's fresh in our minds how awesome, how much more awesome it is to be there than anywhere else.
Yeah. I'll say, like, usually when I hear, like, this business is a family, it's being weaponized by management so that you will
Right.
work for less money. When you feel that way about your company, I feel like that's okay to say. Be like, no, we
That's a
feel
good
like a
point.
family. It's not Sam saying, you're a family. Anyway, I need you to work overtime today, and we don't have the money to pay you.
That's a really good point.
I will say, like, one of the cool, like, you talked about, like, people caring about the behind the scenes. Like, I have a Patreon, and like, I posted, like, hey, I'm going to be interviewing Chloe. Like, who has questions? And there are, like, I mean, there are 5 different comments. Multiple of them have multiple questions embedded in them of
That's
people being
sweet.
like, yeah, like, like talking about building those the idols and the loop de loops. Like, how did that process come about? It also makes my job way easier because then I just steal questions from people. Um, uh,
That's sweet. Yeah, I
uh,
mean, it is very weird. Like I got recognized by a bartender. So when the production designer is getting recognized by random people around, um, I think it means people are invested.
yeah, they
And our fans
definitely
are
are.
so wonderful.
Do you really mean that? It feels like you have a butt in there, but that's fine. No, I'm
No,
kidding.
no, no, no
Yeah,
but my husband always is sending me, he trolls the Reddit page. I don't because I
yeah,
try to stay healthy.
yeah.
But he'll send me things, uh and our fans are
Cult.
just
Yeah,
great. It's a really nice cult to be a part of. And I'm
yeah.
happy to be moving up in the leadership at the cult
It's very
and finally
exciting.
being recognized as the soon to be new cult leader of the cult.
Amazing. Yeah, I think if you kill Sam, you take his power. It's Highlander
That's
rules.
right.
So,
Mhm.
um, yeah, it's also nice to have someone who can look at the Reddit and like cultivate something for you and send it to you rather
Mhm.
than you have to look at it because it is a nightmare. Like, the
Mhm.
Dropout subreddit is the best subreddit I am a part of, and oh boy, it's still a nightmare. Like, because
The internet is
it's
a scary place to be.
yeah, yes.
Yeah, it's
Um,
hard.
but you know what would help in defense on the internet? This is the greasiest transition. Cool swords. You've built cool swords for Make Some Noise. When Sam comes to you and is like, does he just give you carte blanche? Go nuts. How does that process work?
Yeah, I have a couple of them around. I took them home, especially here. I'll get. This is one of my favorite puppets I have ever made.
It's so good.
Um, I don't know. Should he say something? Sam basically lets me do whatever I want. He say, "Can you make weird swords?" And then I come up with ideas. I make them. He loves them. It's a beautiful relationship.
It's so good.
Is that gonna make it into the edit?
Yeah, 100%. You think
Um,
I'm way too lazy to edit out like even mediocre stuff. I'm not going to edit out good bits.
Great, thank you. Um, I think, make some noise the set. Sam, I pitched him a bunch of ideas based on his ideas. He had said, I want it to maybe be like this. And then I did some sketches. We didn't like any of it. And he was like, just do whatever you would do if I gave you carte blanche to just do whatever. And so I made that insane Memphis headache of a set. And he was like, great, we're doing this. So that was lucky. With the swords, we have pitches. Some come from me, some from Paul, and from Sam. Um, and then he will let me kind of choose what I am most excited to make. And that's how those choices get made. I wanted to make a cake sword. I love making fake cake. So that was one of them. I don't know if you can see it in your view, but there's the ice cream sword is up there.
Oh, yes, I
This
do.
guy.
Yes, delightful.
Um, yeah, and then they go to storage or they go here. And my house is quickly becoming like a dropout shrine, mostly
Yeah.
game changer, but also other things. I like to think that when I die, there will be a lot of auctions of very cool things that they find in my house.
You think, yeah, is Zam Reich in your house? Who has Zam these days?
Sam has Zam
Hmm.
right
Oh, that's
behind
right.
him, right
It's right.
here.
It's on. Yes, yes, yes. In
Anytime
his.
you have a Zoom with him, the puppet's just back there, and he got shrink wrapped. I don't know, somebody shrink wrapped him and then sent him to Sam that way. So he's like, with like the hair and the mouth open and everything. He wasn't well taken care of. And so I asked Sam, I was like, can I please come over with some hairspray and fix it? And he said no. He likes it that way.
Oh, that's incredible. Obviously, can you? I'm not going to ask you to pick like a favorite thing you've built because I'm sure you can't. Do you have some favorites that you have built from things that we have seen besides Puppet Sword? Because obviously that is a favorite. Because
It's so hard to move past this season that we just did because there's so many favorites from this season that I just can't tell you about. So let me try to think from other. What are some episodes that you love?
I mean, I will say my favorite
You
episode
know,
of all time is Escape the Green Room. I just like every bit of it is perfect. Like the
thank
madness
you.
of it and the design is so good. What was it like for you watching Lou smash things instantly?
Incredible. I know I already said this, but yeah, doing the stencils for that was one of my favorite things I've ever gotten to do because it was hard. It took a
Yeah,
lot of tech skill. I actually have here, I'll show you. I have a shadow box with Sam Reich bobblehead in it. Um, and only real fans will recognize this.
I don't know what it is.
This is a pube paintbrush that
Oh,
I think it was Reika tried to sell in season 2. And this kind of thing really gets me going.
yeah,
It's gross, it's stupid, it's well executed, and it's simple, and I love it so much.
it's so good.
Let's see what else did I. Oh man, stuff from this season. Sorry to say.
Oh man,
I am very proud of the Sam Reich bobblehead as well. That was a Bill Clinton bobblehead that I
feels
transformed into Sam Reich.
that feels very appropriate thematically for Sam's life.
Yeah,
That
wasn't
that is the
intentional, just
yeah.
the one that happened to look the most like him. Sorry, you asked me about Lou smashing. I mean, that was such a great moment, and that was a custom guitar that the company New Effects, they had not they weren't offering that, they hadn't made it yet. It was like the first one. So really satisfying to see it go immediately. And then it sort of set the stage for there are times in the series where we learn lessons about what our cast is going to do. So season 2, in the pube paintbrush episode, when Trap ate the lemons that were
Yep.
covered in old cheese and hot glue, that was the day that my team said, okay, from now on, if anything is like even slightly edible, it's going to have to be food safe. So the sword that Erica
Mm-hmm.
ate, that was food safe, specifically because of the trap lemon rule, that we just know that it's possible, probable, they're definitely going to be taking a bite out of it, and we want to make sure nobody gets sick. So Lou smashing the guitar was another instance of learning a thing that has to be a rule now, which is like, if anything is smashable, we're going to have to assume that they're smashing all of it. And so we are going to have to make sure that there's no real glass in a room where there's a breakaway guitar, you know? And I don't even think that guitar looks like a breakaway.
It
I
does
don't
not.
even think, like, I mean, I held it up close. If you pick it up, maybe it feels a little light, but he just went for it. And then luckily, lots of other stuff was breakaway too, and nobody got hurt.
Very, very helpful. That's so fun. Yeah, the sword, the pizza sword, also great. That's so fun that it has to be now a consideration of like, one of these lunatics is going to take a bite out of this because it
Yeah,
looks
so
enough like food.
got to wash your hands when you're working with the dough, because you know, and keep it refrigerated because somebody's going to take a bite out of it, and we need to make sure that they're safe.
That's so good. Yeah, I that man, it obviously Escape the Green Room was great. I don't know. Have we talked about Ratfish yet? You did so much incredible work for Ratfish.
Thanks.
Of just like transforming hotel rooms into it's such like specific design for every person. That like it's just a triumph, especially of design. I love the
Thank
episode as well,
you.
but like the design, especially, just like it's one of those things where like I almost don't want to watch the episode because I just want to look at like what madness you have put behind the players. How much
Thank
fun
you.
was
It was
that?
sweet to say that.
How much fun was that
Oh,
to like go into like, hey, I got to build a Brennan room, I got to build a Grant room. Like what madness am I going to put in a Zach? Like what was that like?
so fun. Um, and you know, it was one of those things where no one else really was super on board. They were like, "Do we really need to do that?" And I was like, "Can you please trust me that we should do this?" And I actually found an article about the circle that said that the show's greatest star was the set design, and that the show would be unwatchable without it. And I sent that article on Slack. I was like, "See, it's not going to be watchable if we don't, you know, do this." Because we had gone through lots of iterations where it was just like, "Oh, it's a hotel except the couch is orange," you know,
Mhm.
boring. And Sam, again, so generous. If I'm excited about something, he's gonna let me do it and find a way to make it happen. And I think that's part of his philosophy, is like, if you hire people and then you let them do what they're great at and what they love and what they're passionate about, the end product is going to be great. And I like to think that the end product was great, and it was so much fun making those murals. Um, and a collaborative effort from the team. I know our set decorator, Day Hernandez, she was like, "Can I make a giant rat tail to come out of the fur couch?" And I was like, "Yes, please. Perfect. Please do that." It's like 9 feet long. um, and so, you know, then I get to pass it on to whatever my staff is excited to make, they get to do. Um, I loved doing those portraits of Sam. I think I've talked about that a lot. I don't know if anybody wants to keep hearing about it, but that was so much fun, and he's so game, you know? I just asked him, "Hey, do you want to come shoot a bunch of stuff with some costumes for no reason?" And he's like, "Sure. What time?" Amazing. Um, Grant again was almost too sick to come, and so we were like trying to figure out, is there anyone who kind of goes with 1920s speakeasy vibes? What are those things? And then just like designing them around their personalities. You know, Reika, like, I don't know, do you think of candy and sweets when you think of Reika? Not really, but I feel like that room was a perfect room for her to be in for that episode. I just feel like it fit her vibe so well. And navigating that was extremely fun and rewarding. So
Yeah.
fun.
was super fun. Oh man, here's the problem. All of the interviews have now bled together. I've talked to Jess, Reka, and Katie, and it
Oh,
was
I
all
loved Jess's room. I want to
yes.
live in that room.
That's such a good room. I think it was Katie. I think it was Katie that was like, I didn't realize I could get up and like look at things. And so she was just like, I stayed on the couch because I thought that's what we were supposed to do.
Oh, that's yeah. The rooms were constructed in a really ramshackle way. We didn't have a location until like a week before we shot. So yeah, it's just curtains on either side. And I was really worried that I think there is a point even where Jess stands up and you like see the C stands, that's like part of what happens in unscripted television. But that's sweet. I hope she liked it. Again, it fit her vibe.
Yeah.
She's
Everyone.
Alice in Wonderland.
Yes. It's so good. Yeah. Oh, we are like coming up here on time.
You sound like my
I,
therapist.
well, I just don't want to steal your whole day away from you.
You're fine.
But
Whatever you want to do.
great. I will say a thing that happened, and I have taken some blame for this. The last season of Game Changer, whoops-a-daisy, I accidentally helped spread a conspiracy theory that Sam Dalton was actually taking over the show. Um, what is it like that the fandom cares
Yeah.
that much and it's just like Sam moved his hands at a weird and did a weird thing and like is looking at your stuff to be like, is there a clue in
Yeah.
here in terms of like this thing that isn't even a real storyline but that we have invented. Like how does that work for you?
Yeah, I mean, again, like the rules I was saying earlier, where you learn that lesson, now we have to constantly consider that. And it always has to be a conversation. Um, I don't think anyone will be mad if I share this, but we had on this last season, one of our props was a roasted pig. And it made sense in context. Just trust me, it was fake. Don't worry. Um,
I was going to say
but we were
we
like,
have seen a picture of the pig with a top hat back on set.
yeah. Well, so we were
So
like, oh, is this going to be morbid and people are going to like take to Reddit to talk about Henry the pig getting eaten in this episode or whatever. So we cut it because we are always thinking about that, like the connections that people are going to make. Um, it's nerve-wracking and funny, and I hope we can take advantage of it at some point. Drop some false leads. That would be really
Mhm.
fun. Um, and whenever we have a new person on the team, we had a couple of new scenics this year, they're always like, well, no one's going to notice that, right? And I'm like, oh gosh, yeah. On any other show, I would say fine. But on this show, someone is absolutely going to go and say, the bottom quarter of that loop-de-loop, the blue is a slightly different hue from the rest. And what do we think? 1 divided by 4 is 0.25. So are there going to be 25 episodes this season? And we're waiting for, it's like that's how they are. And so we have
Mhm.
to be super careful.
Yep. Yeah, and then I see those things and spread them like
Hmm.
wildfire, as it turns out.
Again, we're so lucky. No complaints that anybody could care enough about my work to pause the screen and try to scrub around and find errors. Is like, that's really a blessing. It's very funny.
Delightful. Chloe, this has been so much fun. Thank you so much. If people somehow don't follow you already on the internet, where can they find you?
My Instagram is at Badner. And then my jewelry, which yes, maybe I should open it up. It's December. It's at Studio Badner, and that is my URL, studiobadner.com, where you can see all of the stuff I make, and sometimes I sell things when I have the energy.
Ah, speaking of jewelry, now we have to talk about this. The Game Changer earrings that were like designed by you. At what point did Randy come to you to be like, "Hey, we want to do this"? Like, how did
I went
that
to
come
him.
about? Okay.
It was in one of the behind the scenes interviews. I was wearing some metal arch earrings, and our our fans are so diehard. They think we invented the arch. And anytime they see an arch, they're like, that's Game Changers. That belongs to them. So someone had said Chloe Badner's wearing Game Changer earrings, podium earrings in the interview, which they were from Cost Plus. They just happen to be the same shape. And then I was like, yeah, we need to do that. I actually have one here. So I came up with an extremely complicated design that is 3-dimensional for no reason other than to complicate it. And they were bestsellers. People are really happy with them. And sometimes, especially now that I go to improv shows kind of frequently, I see somebody wearing them. And that's a really cool feeling.
That's
And
super
I
cool.
might take a creepy, super zoomed in photo of them from far away to send to my mom.
Oh, amazing. Chloe's mom, if you're watching, hello. Anyway, Chloe, this has been absolutely delightful. We simply have to talk again after this next season of Game Changers so that I can
Oh my God,
learn
yeah.
all the things that you couldn't tell me now. But by then, you'll probably have filmed another season of Game Changer, and then you'll have new things that you can't tell me. But
that's going to be really annoying.
yeah, I mean,
We
look,
should
it just
catch me in between like March and August, and then that'll be
perfect.
the sweet
Got it.
spot. I'll
Done.
respond more quickly this time. Sorry.
Hey, no, you don't have to apologize for that. You are very busy, and I appreciate your time.
Thank
This
you.
is absolutely amazing. I don't know how to end an interview, so I'm just going to hit stop recording.
Sounds good. Same.